Welcome to the BXG podcast where pop culture and nerd culture meet at the nexus of the universe and are melded as seamlessly as chainsaws, detectives, and Pablo Escobar. I am one of your hosts for this BXG production, Brenton Bestwick, the Alpha Donut guy, alongside my co-host, Gregory T. Filson, and the T stands for Tea and Crumpets Eating Some Bitch. Greg, how are you this evening?
I'm doing okay. This was a 4-day week because of Veterans Day. So it's nice. It'll be nice to have a break. When this comes out, seeing Harry Styles that evening, Friday evening. So stoked about seeing Harry. Harold Stylish as his baptismal name. And no, that's kind of it. Just getting through all of it. How are you, Brenton?
I'm good. A little tired. Haven't been sleeping as well, but when the lights come on, it's go time.
It's go time. That's right. Sleeping's hard.
Yeah.
I wonder how many people sleep well that are like doing okay.
I don't I don't understand the context of that question.
Well, it's like if you're stressed, if you're like usually if you are like successful, someone says you're still stressed. So because you want to keep that success level going, whether it's minor league success or major league success, I'm just saying. So like the little back of your mind stuff is still working, or you have some sort of other anxiety. It's like if you're just straight chilling, then you probably don't have a lot going on, or you have very low expectations.
Well,
So that
I'm
would be
medicated. I'm
sure,
medicated to
yeah,
go to sleep.
right. That's what I'm
I'm
saying.
still
And
not sleeping well.
I am not medicated to go to sleep, but I just don't sleep well. And I am also the lightest sleeper in the world. Like everything wakes me up. So, but also I'll just wake up and think about something I did at work 3 weeks ago and be like, oh, this will somehow come back and bite me in the ass.
Sure.
So, I'd be interested on that. I wonder how many people actually sleep well. I'm going to guess not a lot, at least not millennials, because if you check the internet, most millennial memes are like, well, I could go to bed or I could just think about every life decision I've ever made from the age of 20 till now. So I'm going to guess that we, as a group of people, haven't slept well.
Avatar. We did an Avatar.
We did.
The Way of the Water. The Way of Water? Whatever. Trailer reaction, you can check that out on the YouTube
Cameron
channel.
cut.
And I posted a poll on both Instagram and Twitter asking, are you excited for this? And Twitter, yes, was the answer. 83% to 16 or 83.3 to 16.7%. And then on Instagram, I'm just pulling up the raw data here. It's not what I'm looking for. What does that say? I don't know who that is. Something dumb that I don't care about. Yeah, okay. If it was out of 10, I'd probably say the respondents gave it about a 3.
Sure.
As an average. Most people were a little bit lower on it over on Instagram and Twitter, but it's probably somewhere around 50-50. And I mean, that sounds, if you're James Cameron, who there was a story right after we did that trailer reaction actually, and we had said something to the effect of, do you think that all 5, you asked the question, do you think all 5 will be made? And I said yes, because money. And shortly after, I think it was actually maybe even same day, there was an interview with James Cameron, and he was asked if he thought 4 and 5 would get made, and he said that it would be entirely dependent upon the financial success of 2 and 3. So I think 2 and 3 are assured, and 4 and 5 are we'll see.
Yeah.
And I think that, financial success for these movies is going to be not the same as financial success for, say, the Uncharted movie, which pretty much just made its money back, maybe made a little bit of profit on top. But it also didn't cost. I can only imagine the budget for this Avatar movie, with the amount of CG and special effects, so on and so forth. I'm going to see if I can find a number. 250 million is the budget for this movie, which is a little bit higher than the original, which was 237 million. But when you figure on top of that, you have probably the same amount in marketing. So you're looking at a $500 million thing. So this movie has to probably gross over 750 million to $1 billion to consider it a financial success.
Right. And it probably will because of worldwide things. So
yeah, I think this is more of a worldwide thing than domestic, but I just found that based on the timing of our video, that conversation that we had within that video ended up being like a small headline on, sites like IGN and Nerdist and all the rest, that
yeah,
it was part of the conversation. Because I do think that saying, okay, we're going to make 4 more of these, there is a little bit of like risk there, that are we really going to commit to that many if the first sequel flops, basically. But
it just feels like it won't flop. I just don't think it will flop, as much as you and I are probably like, I would say, like very low on this.
Mm-hmm.
It just feels like it will do okay enough.
Yeah,
based on its timing and everything.
Yeah. What I'm really curious to see, because this was not a thing that Avatar had to compete with the first time out, is what will the level of discourse and, like, I can see this movie being review bombed by Marvel fans, that like Endgame fans. I think review bombing is one of the dumbest things on the internet.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I agree.
But I could see this movie being pretty aggressively review bombed by MCU fans and things like that. But yeah, I just wanted to bring that up just because of the relevance with our trailer reaction. But we have kind of a lot to get through. We've had a couple down weeks, couple quick weeks, without as much content to get through. We still have Andor and Chainsaw Man, but we also have a couple movies this week. I think this is probably going to be, to a certain extent, movie season.
I think so. Yeah,
to catch up as some of these other shows kind of wind down. But we have Enola Holmes 2 and Weird, the Yankovich Story. And I think that the best place to probably start is with Andor. And this week's episode focuses mostly on Cassian Andor himself engineering this prison break within the labor camp type prison that he is sort of locked away in, that they figure out that no one's getting out. They're all just kind of getting reassigned to different units, and they figure that out. And one of the units is basically everyone on it gets killed to cover it up, essentially. And then that information gets out via the doctor who basically I mean, there's no other really way to put it, but he essentially euthanized the older guy. And then at the end of this is kind of recapping a little bit last week's, but at the end of that episode, you kind of see the determination on these characters that, okay, we are going to do what we can here to get out. And so Andor and Andy Serkis's character Kino Loy engineer the escape along with some other guys, and they essentially prison riot their way out. And then we figure out that Kino Loy can't swim, so he just is shit out of luck.
Yeah.
But then there are some other scenes with Luthen, and it seems as though the ISP supervisor is her main man is an inside agent that is kind of trying to get out, and then Luthen basically talks him back in and says, "You're trapped just like the rest of us." And there's some scenes with Mon Mothma that are sort of forward building and that sort of thing. And then we also see the scene back on his home world where his mother appears to be in dire health issue. And I think that's probably where the series is going to conclude. But overall, this episode was really just about the prison break.
Yeah.
So what were your thoughts regarding?
Okay. So I'm starting to think
I believe
that,
it's called One Way Out was the name of the episode.
I think that was correct. Yeah. So I feel like they're starting to tap into my brain and just what I want to see in anything. So heist, my favorite theme of any movie. Just give me a heist scene. And then my second favorite thing in a movie is give me a prison break. So just tapped in. It was so much fun. I love anytime somebody's scheming. I mean, I've said schemes to you and Tyler many times, just like, this is what we should do. I love a scheme. I love a plan. I love the, Rick Sanchez, you son of a bitch, I'm in kind of thing.
Sure.
And, I love all that. And this was everything I wanted from this show. And then it's like, oh, we're doing a prison break. So the writing's stellar. The speech that Kino Loy gives to like, hey, we're just getting recycled. Like none of us are getting out. I thought was stellar. It was so good. And then, Cassian just kind of telling everyone how this is going to work. All those little intricacies. It made me just feel like, I think I've mentioned this before, but it just feels like some of the dialogue is almost Aaron Sorkin-y, where it's so snappy and so good. And to some degree, almost like probably too, I don't want to sound like mean, but it's like, it's almost too smart for Star Wars sometimes, where it's like Star Wars is very much like the everyman kind of movie in the best possible way. And some of this can be just so, I think, and we've talked about this privately and then a little bit on the show, but like a lot of people don't watch this show.
Right.
Which is insane because it's the best thing in the Star Wars universe
in a long while.
Going. I mean, it's just, it's like, well, the only other thing since Rogue One.
Yeah.
And Rogue One is it, so it's one of those things where it's just like Mandalorian's also very, very good. But I mean, I think now this show usurps the Mandalorian for quality, not Star Warsianess. The Mandalorian is more for like Star Wars people. This show has Star Wars in the title, and yes, there are Star Wars parts about it, but this is its own thing. And I think maybe this is the thing where we've talked about Marvel and Star Wars. Maybe this is why I like this show so much, is like I just felt so overdone with both things. And to just have a show where, yes, it's there's the Empire, there's the Resistance, but like, it's just there. It's not force fed down your throat, you know. And that's why I think I really like this show. And also the other thing, we're like good and bad, it's just, it doesn't matter either. It's just kind of this very thin line of paper mache protecting both sides. The show was, I didn't like it as much as The Heist, but damn, it was still really good. I was still captivated. It was a shorter episode too. Like it was bing bang boom.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
thought. I think it was at least. I think it was only like 36 minutes or something. So
yeah.
without the extra
Yeah.
stuff.
Credits,
So
yeah.
I really, really like it. I'll be interested to see what they do. 2 more episodes. I'll be interested to see if they pull off another big thing, because you've already done 2 really cool things. So I'll be interested to see how those last 2 episodes end up.
I think I'll start with maybe the bad here,
Okay.
and or maybe bad's not necessarily the word, as the I saw something online and I'm noticing it more. And one of the criticisms of this show from the online community, I can't remember if I saw this on Twitter or in a Star Wars Facebook group or something like that, but one of the people had said that part of the problem that they have with this show is that the reason it doesn't feel like Star Wars to them isn't because it doesn't have Jedi and Sith and lightsaber fights. It's, where are the droids? Where are the aliens? And I kind of like, I hadn't really thought about that. And now that's something that, like, in the nitpicky version, or like the nitpicky part of my mind, I'm like, there aren't any droids in this. There's the droid that his mom has, and then there's the droid that arrested him, but that's pretty much it. And then the same thing can be said where there's really not any aliens. And I feel like the prison would have been the place to showcase that, in that we've kind of identified over time that there are no aliens in the Empire. And so they must be racist, right? Or
Right.
xenophobic, whatever. So you would think at one of these prison camps that's where some of those characters or some of those other alien species might show up. And so for there to be just nothing there, it did give me a little bit, after I saw that, like I said, I can't remember if it was a tweet or a post or whatever, but it got into my head a little bit. I'm like, damn, there aren't any droids. There aren't any aliens. And that is kind of weird. But that's kind of where, like you said, the Star Warsiness of it. I actually liked this episode more than the heist episode, because I think that it has greater implications for the title character. And what I mean by that is, in the heist episode, he's very much a gun for hire. He's just a thief. He's in it for the money. He tells them, I'm in it for the money. I'm going to take my share and I'm going to get out of here.
Yeah.
This episode is where you see him become a leader, in not just, okay, I'm going to lead this thing. I'm the mastermind behind this prison break and everybody follow me.
Mastermind. Like Taylor Swift.
Go actually fuck yourself.
She's a mastermind.
He's kind of the architect of this, but also he recognizes that Kino needs to be the one that makes that speech. And so it's not just, okay, I'm the leader because I'm the architect of this plan, but also I recognize that that's the guy that is the leader. And that's who the people should believe in. And I think that you kind of carry that into Rogue One, with how he is, look, I'm a boots on the ground guy, but at the same time, he's earned that trust. And it's because of situations like this that he has earned that trust. And I thought that the monologue at the end by Luthen, Mr. Skarsgård's character, was also very important, because it lays the groundwork for We need heroes who are willing to be the heroes whose names will be forgotten or never heard at all. And that's kind of, I feel like, ties directly to Rogue One, because even though in the original films there's never a Rogue One, there's always, Rogue Two on the Hoth planet in Empire. That, Rogue Two, there's never a Rogue One. And we kind of learned that the reason why is because Rogue One is who stole the Death Star plans. But you don't know those names. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think that a lot of times, and this is translates to the real world, right? Everybody, like, if you've ever taken any interest in American war history, you know the names of U.S. Grant, George Washington, the general, Douglas MacArthur, Sherman, any of the Dwight D. Eisenhower, not just for being a president, for being a general. You know the names of the famous generals, but you don't know the names of the guys who are the spies stealing the plans. You don't know the names of the inside men, the intelligence guys, the secret agents. Like those are guys who sign up to be the hero that nobody knows is the hero. And I think that this episode really set the stage for that type of character arc moving forward for not just Andor, not just Cassian himself, but all of the characters in this particular story arc, starting with this and ending at the end of Rogue One, where it's, this is the tomb of the unknown soldier, basically.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I think that maybe sheer entertainment value, the heist episode was of a more entertaining quality. But I think when it comes to character building, story building, world building, universe building, this episode was far superior.
I mean, I don't disagree with you on like that build of everything. I really like this episode. I mean, it was like one of those things where like, but I think for me, it's just one of those things where a heist is something I enjoy more, but I don't, Prison Break is number two. And this episode, like you said, for that character development, all that, I think the other thing with the heist is we had all that build up.
Sure.
And so I think the build up to the heist was for me a little bit more of like, oh, we finally got it. There wasn't enough, there was enough build up in this, but it wasn't that like ticking time bomb of build up for this
Sure.
episode. And so I think that was maybe the difference for me. Still really like this episode. This is my
Yeah.
second favorite episode of the season. I mean, it's like, I think one and two, I think this and then the heist episode are one and two. And I think the rest of the series is pretty separated from it. The series is still very good, but I think those episodes really stand out of like, holy cow, these are really, I mean,
Well,
when the heist episode dropped, you and I were like, okay,
yeah,
this is
the
going on a
payoff.
different level. Yeah.
It's the payoff, but the other thing is that I think without all that story development, the payoff isn't as meaningful.
Right.
So I think that this show is incredibly paced. I don't think that there's any really wasted time on screen. Like you said, this episode was, however long, 30, 36, 37 minutes without intro and credits. And yeah, I think that this movie, or sorry, this series, not movie, this series is just a masterclass in storytelling from tip to tail of, I feel like that with Obi-Wan and Boba Fett, what happened in the first episodes were still governing what was happening in the later episodes. Whereas with this show, and I would also say this about The Mandalorian, the early episodes, the events of them are still important, and they are why we're on this trek that we're on. But I don't think that they continuously come back to those storylines. Like first episode, he killed two cops. Like he just murders two cops. And that is why we're here now, but we're not still dealing with that. It's a much different level of stakes. Like the stakes were, even when he killed two cops and everybody on that planet was basically looking for him as a murderer, so for him personally in that moment, the stakes are high, but the farther and farther we go along, the stakes go from being just where he lives to being galaxy wide.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I think that it's a contained story in that it's about one man for the most part. I mean, obviously there's side characters and other storytellers, but this is about one guy who goes from being a no one to becoming like the most wanted man, one of the most wanted men in the galaxy, and under the Empire's nose, and they don't even know. And then how does he reconcile his past with moving forward to becoming the hero we see in Rogue One? And I think that there's a lot of unanswered questions. There's still the whole concept of his sister being out there that we don't know about. There's there's the Cyril character who we didn't see in this episode at all. Um there is whatever her name is, Lebo, Debo, the supervisor lady.
Yeah.
She's trying to figure out her thing. There's Saw Gerrera out there. But I think that the other reason I think that this particular series and this season have worked out so well is there are top tier actors in this. Like Andy
Yeah.
Serkis is like, he's not some bum off the street. You know what I
No.
mean? Like he's grade A. Forrest
Diego
Whitaker
Luna is
only
actually
did,
grade A. Like that's the thing people don't realize.
yeah,
Like Diego
Diego
Luna is
Luna,
like
yes,
A+ actor. Like did
right,
a bunch of Spanish films and stuff like that. Where
yeah,
like people don't necessarily
he's
realize it.
been around.
A2 Mama, I think is the movie he was in like initially when he was like 19 or something. And it's like that's a classic.
He was in Open Range with Kevin Costner and
Oh yeah.
Robert Duvall. Yeah. But yeah, I think, I love this. I love this
I
series.
love this show. This was like I wasn't I was above okay with it, but once we hit the heist, once we got that payoff, I'm like, yes. And I'm going to compare once this show's over, and I feel like I'm not going to be wrong. I'm going to compare this show to wine, and I don't want you to forget about that. But I'm going to compare this show overall to wine in the best possible way because of the viewership. That's the reason because that really made me angry.
Well, you know, yeah,
It
I
is what
just
it is,
hope,
but it just made me
yeah.
angry because this show's great. But I 100% the show's great. If you haven't watched it, do like
I don't
catch up
think
because it's great.
whether or not with the viewership being a little bit lower, it's obviously not affecting their future plans because they
No,
started
right.
production on season 2. And so I think that to a certain extent that Disney and Star Wars know what they have with this, and hopefully they continue to press forward unabated. But this is a great show, and I'm looking forward to the last 2 weeks.
Me too.
Chainsaw Man. Oh, Chainsaw Man, episode 5. This episode was awkward, maybe a little uncomfortable. Genji got his squeezes. He's got his 3 squeezes.
Yep.
And then he was like, is that it?
Yep.
And then his boss, Mimika, was like, oh no, you gotta be intimate with that. And by the way, if you kill the final boss, I'll give you whatever you want. And he's like, whatever I want, whatever you want. But whatever I want, whatever you want. And then we get a little bit more we get a little bit more backstory. Get a little bit more backstory on the ponytail character. Why can't I think of his name?
I was just home ponytail guy anyhow.
Yeah,
So
I know, but let's show a little bit of respect. Here it comes. Yeah. Well, I mean, given the context, Hayakawa, Aki
Like
Hayakawa,
how, yeah,
get a
yeah,
little bit more of his backstory that this gun devil basically eradicated his family in front of him, and then he teams up with Eye Patch, and they become partners, and then they're loaded up with this ragtag group that has to go into this hotel and find, like, we find out that the gun devil, which is clearly like the main bad guy, final boss of at least this part of the story arc, and it moves so fast that bullet shells just fall off of it but then are attracted to it,
right.
giant magnet. And so they find a devil with the that has a fragment of this in their quest to try to track down. And this is where I think now, like, we're getting into plotline narrative wise what the actual season will end up being about. Like, now
Mm.
we've introduced all the players, and we've kind of gotten to know especially Denji, Power a little bit, Hayakawa a little bit, and now a little bit more. Like, so we know who everybody is, and now we're like, okay, we're gonna focus this in on what the actual plot line is. And so they go in and they find this little walking severed head that has like hands on it.
God, it was hilarious.
So freaking weird. And we learn about Eye Patch's like pact that she made with the ghost devil, that she can just like basically force choke people.
Yeah,
Um,
it's cool.
so, and I think what's going to end up happening there is, this is just my long term prediction, and I have not read the manga, so I don't know. But I think that at the end, when, because we saw Hayakawa's devil that he has like a link with, now we've seen this one. And I'm sure that there's more out there that through the course of the story we'll see like more and more powerful of these like packs that these different characters have. I believe that the end game will be that Denji makes a blood pact with the gun devil. That's just my thought. I just feel like that would be pretty obvious just from having watched shows like this in the past. Like, that's kind of how these things tend to work out. I could be way off the mark. I could be not even in the same hemisphere, but that's kind of like my prediction. And we'll continue to watch and see where that goes. But I mean, you had a strong reaction to this episode because you did text me about it as you were watching it. And so what were your thoughts
The
on
beginning was
this?
so hilarious. Like, I couldn't stop laughing. I'm literally watching this during my kids having Spanish class, which they have a different person teach that. And like, so I'm watching it with just subtitles
Sure.
and not, because you don't need, actually don't need, you can just watch it. It's
Yeah.
fine to watch it. And I'm like dying. Like, I can't actually laugh because, so like inside I'm dying because it's like his, like her, like little bra padding
Yeah.
falls out.
Yeah.
And it's
Powers.
so funny. And like, yeah, Powers, and he's just like so disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so funny. I thought that was amazing. And then, he gets the next thing where it's like, oh, well, if you do this, you get anything. And I'm like, is this just like a teen movie from like 1998? And that's kind of what I felt like. It was just like this 1998 teen movie in the best possible way. Because I think those movies are stellar and like very much in that era, but still very funny. And it made me really laugh. Once it started getting to like the gory parts of it, I was a little less out because it was just, I see what you're saying with like the packs and stuff. I've never watched it. I don't really watch these. I don't read
Mm-hmm.
manga, and so I don't. I will say like your thing on. You're probably right. I have no idea. My thing is just like Denji is just kills me because he's just like he has no
Oh,
idea what
he's
he's doing.
he's a moron.
He's the dumbest person in any show ever. It's like it's so funny. It reminds me of like Andy and Parks and Rec, where it's just like it's just he reads what's in front of him, and that's literally the only interpretation he has of anything. And it's
Mm,
great though. But he's also Chainsaw Man. So at the end of
right.
the day, he can still just be like, I need to do whatever, and I turn into Chainsaw Man. So I I will say this episode was not to me like that good. because the head guy cracked me up. Like I almost fell backwards when the head guy came out.
He's
I was
just
like,
like,
this. It was like an Adams Family thing, and I was just like, this is so weird. But like, I think this is what makes this show at least like. I'm glad we're doing it. I wasn't like, I'm not hesitant to watch anything. If you recommend it or if you suggest, I'll do it. I mean, it doesn't really matter. Some things are just harder to get into because of like everything else we try to do. But
sure.
when Head Guy came out, I was just like, this is why we watch this. Because this show is not supposed to be on the rails. This is
Oh,
supposed to
yeah.
be a train, literally like the video you would see of like those old school like videos, the black and white, where the train goes off the track into the ocean. And like that's the show. It's not trying to ever be on the rails.
But it's so entertaining.
It's so
it's
entertaining.
Like,
it flies by.
Yeah, the episodes are
you,
so short, and
but sometimes episodes can be 23 minutes, Brenton,
mm-hmm.
and they can drag.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, is this ever going to end?
Yeah.
And this is an episode where literally you're like, holy crap, this is hilarious, or it is what it is, and it's over. And you're like, they cut it so well too. Like, you don't know it's the end until it's just, they do it. Like, boom. Because it's always, whatever.
Oh,
break.
I guess we should say that the ending, they kind of realize that they're stuck in one of those like MC Escher situations where
right,
they're just on the 8th floor forever.
They're just on it. They're just there forever.
So that's another like kind of one of these it's kind of a genre trope a little bit of like, oh, now we're just in somebody's dream, or whatever. And that's probably they're going to realize that the devil that they're actually fighting, maybe it was Headman Devil,
is themselves.
Well, kind of, right? And it'll be something to the effect of they're all in some type of hallucination, whether it be like a sleep induced whatever or some type of psychedelic, who knows. But that's probably, that's my prediction there. But I just find this show to be so entertaining. It's so funny at times because of how ridiculous it is. I do like that he doesn't go full Chainsaw Man in every episode, so it like makes it special whenever he just bugs out, and because he completely changes
his shit.
Yeah, he's like snarling and growling and laughing like some type of schizo, and it's just it's really fun. I think that's the best word for this is this is a fun show to watch.
100%. I love it.
I did feel a little awkward during whatever I want. Whatever I want. Whatever you want. So, well.
And he doesn't even know what that means. Honestly, like at the end of the day, like he doesn't even know. Just like, can I touch your waist? She's like, sure.
Yeah.
It's like, cool.
Yep.
Cool. And that's a
Chainsaw Man.
Chainsaw Man.
Oops.
Oops.
All right, moving on.
But what if they get Bryce Young?
Enola Holmes 2. And this is a movie about Sherlock Holmes' sister. And Sherlock Holmes himself is a secondary character played by Henry Cavill. Enola Holmes is played by Millie Bobby Brown. Their mother is played by Helen Bonham Carter. The bad guy is played by Remus Lupin from Harry Potter.
That's right.
And this particular tale of Sherlock Holmes, she is trying to solve a case of a missing person. Sherlock is trying to solve the case of some, moving around bank finances, so on and so forth, revealed to be his arch nemesis, Moriarty. Spoilers. I mean, whatever. We spoil things in our recaps.
Yeah.
If you don't, I mean, if you've listened or watched enough, you know that we just recap shit and, spoilers.
Get over it. Yeah.
But I should say also, that their cases kind of become entwined and they realize what is going on and they're able to pinpoint who the real bad guy is. And I will say, I forget what happened through 2/3 of this movie, but the last third
Okay.
was actually really good. And
Yeah,
I
Blaster
was
is very.
super engaged with the last third, but I was very much of the mind of how did we get here? And this is the crazy part. I didn't even have my phone on me.
Okay. I I will say I don't necessarily disagree with you. I was like fully engaged. The entire way. The middle part is lacking, but the end is very cool. The end is very much like, okay, we have, and you do find at the very end is based off a real thing, like the actual way it ends up. The thing that I like about the Enola Holmes movies is that they do move. They move very much. The thing I dislike about the Holmes movies is that there
Everything
are
else.
the parts that were like it doesn't seem like it matters. And I think you kind of hit that, Brenton. I was gonna say like I watched this whole way through and I didn't necessarily forget what happens. I just did not think that that part that you forgot what happens mattered. So I think you forgetting what happens is basically the same thing where it's like it just didn't matter, and that's a problem. But these movies are so entertaining; they're fun to watch. Uh, and you got Henry Cavill and Millie Bobby Brown, and they're people that we like. Is a general like concept of like actors. We like them. There's not anything wrong with them as being. You know what I mean? Is like there's nothing. We don't dislike either of these two people. Like Henry Cavill is
I don't,
Superman.
I, mm,
He's also the Witcher guy,
yeah, girl.
and he won't be anymore. But
Right.
he,
Yeah.
he also is just like a cool dude. Like Henry
Yeah.
Cavill is just a cool dude, and then Millie Bobby Brown is 11, and she's just and she's just a
Looks like
person that
she's
people
on
want to.
the verge of tears more often than not.
Well,
Although
also,
not in
I
this
will say
movie.
this. I
Not in
will
this
say
movie.
she only cried once, and it was a cry moment that was actually the purpose of that point. So I thought that was good. I like. I think she is good at acting to the relative part that she is also just 18 years old, and that is weird to think of like anyone. Um, and then so I think the positives movies outweigh the negatives of these movies, and I'm classifying these as two-part movies. The problem that I have with like a lot of movies, just in general now, and this is nothing to do with just this movie, just all movies, is that that middle is so hard for people to write. They don't know how to take that beginning part, which the beginning of this part of the movie is actually a lot of stuff happening, and the end part is a ton of stuff happening, and something is actually based off of real life, and then the middle is just like doesn't matter. And that is a problem with this. I like this movie fine. I will say I walked away, well, yeah, I walked away from this movie being like, that was fine. It was good. I liked it. I was entertained enough, but they need to fix middle of movies just in general. They really do. It's just not this. This was just indicative of what movies kind of are now that aren't. I don't know. It's just most movies are this. Not every movie, I guess, can be Top Gun Maverick anymore. Where like even that movie was just like awesome through the middle. I'm not. I'm not saying just because I'm a Tom Cruise. I just like that movie. There's a reason why it made so much money because it did hit all those points the entire way through. But movies really struggle with that now. Marvel movies struggle with that now. Black Panther comes out today, the day this comes out. I'll be interested to see how they deal with middle parts of movies because that seems to be the biggest struggle. So I will say this movie was fine. The middle was okay. I love that it was based off a real thing, though. I do love that.
I think what I was maybe let down about with this is that I'm a big Sherlock Holmes guy. I think, to me personally, Benedict Cumberbatch is the best Sherlock Holmes, and the BBC Sherlock's series that he's done along with Martin
That is great.
Freeman
It's very
as
good.
Dr. Watson are really good. And I think having a little bit of that backstory knowledge of having read some of the novels and having seen the whole of the Benedict Cumberbatch thing, as soon as they introduced Moriarty, I was checked out on the Enola story. I was just like, I don't fucking care about that. It's kid stuff. I don't care. Like, show me Sherlock Holmes and Moriarty.
Give me Moriarty.
And I think that maybe does a little bit of a disservice to the lead character in this particular film, because this is supposed to be about her, not about, like, Sherlock's a secondary character.
Right.
He's not the main draw. And I think that they did a disservice to the Enola character by interpreting this with his arch rival in it. And obviously a different take with that character as well. But I think that I really like, the thing that I really like about Sherlock Holmes stories is the whole deduction thing. And I just don't think that these movies do a great job of that. They highlight it a little bit when they do. I think that they do a decent job with it. It's just maybe not enough of it.
Sure.
There's a little
That's
bit
what I was
too
saying.
much.
There's a lot of it, but not enough. Have you watched the Robert Downey Jr. ones?
Yeah, I don't particularly care for them.
Oh, really? Because I really
Yeah,
like those.
they're
I
a little
really
bit
like
too
that.
actiony for me,
Okay.
and I
Okay.
don't
I really like them,
necessarily.
but the deduction's good though. There is a good amount of deduction in those movies.
I don't necessarily see Sherlock Holmes as being like an actiony guy, and I think that that's why, for me, Cumberbatch works a little bit better than Robert Downey Jr. and Henry Cavill, is because, like, you see Henry Cavill, you're expecting ass kicking. I mean, the dude is Superman. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? He's chiseled out of the face of a mountain. And RDJ, that's like right around the time of Iron Man and some of the
Right.
early MCU stuff. You're like, okay, he's going to be doing some action stuff. But Benedict Cumberbatch, even in the Doctor Strange movies, he's not an ass kicker. You know what I
No.
mean? He's kind of a more shrewd sort of character.
Sinewy.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the reason that character works a little bit better for me. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I found the last third of this to be uh pretty entertaining. It was just the run up to it, like you said. I didn't really feel like the ballroom scene. It's like, what do you like? I don't care about this secret love
Well,
affair. And
it the thing I'll say is they felt like it didn't matter. Like the movie
I
just
don't
didn't
know.
seem to the movie didn't seem like it cared about making that matter.
Yeah,
That's what I think is a problem. Is like we don't have writers that can. I'm just sounding like a dipshit, or I'm not sounding like I feel like I'm making fun, but it's like people don't know how to write movies as well anymore, and I almost think it's to blame, and I hate to say it, but it's just to blame on like Marvel. I mean, it really is because it's like we have this thing of like we have to just make everything actiony, and when we don't know what to do.
right.
And this is why, like I've mentioned, like the new Steven Spielberg movie coming out. Like I'm stoked about that movie because like it's not actually it's him. It's basically like a biography about his thing, and it's like about his life. And like people just don't know really what to do with movies anymore. And I think we're at a real crossroads with movies where that middle ground is so hard to write that we just can focus on the beginning and the end, and that's it. And like the book is to me like 400 pages with 150 pages that don't matter.
Yeah, I just, there were things that were, I felt like there were really things that were interesting, and they just kind of glossed over them
Right. Yeah.
in place of, well, we need to have like a chase scene. Like a chase scene on a buggy. Like in a buggy.
Right.
That's
It was
and it's not even like, oh, well, these won't hurt them. They're just smoke bombs. It's like, and I don't want to sound how I know I'm going to sound, but it is what it is. I'm kind of over the whole female power trip thing of we're a couple of ladies and we're gonna kick these five guys with swords asses. I personally, like me personally, I find a female character who is a little bit more intelligent, who is a little bit more cunning, who is a little bit more shrewd to be way more interesting than like Millie Bobby Brown is 18 years old and she knows a little bit of hand-to-hand combat, so she's kicking the ass of a grown police officer.
I mean, and anyone knows me knows that I prefer my women barefoot in the kitchen, making me dinner, having a baby. So I'm just trying to take it off you, Brendan. I'm just trying to take that.
It's I don't know. I just like,
but I do prefer my women barefoot in the kitchen, making me dinner, having a baby.
I don't know.
The new slug for me is that you cutting that up, Brendan, and just that's me saying that.
I think that I just find, like, I understand it, but I also find it to be a bit maybe patronizing a little bit.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah.
And I feel like the wrong things are being highlighted. Women are smarter than men. I'm here to tell you, and I am one. I'm a man. Women are smarter than men. And so why are we trying to like, I don't want to say assign because that gets in the whole thing.
Well,
it's like, you know, a character that is like very intelligent. I don't know. I like that scene was just like, it didn't work for me. It would have been way more interesting to do some type of like, okay, we're just going to outsmart these guys because they're big and strong and we're not, but they're also fucking idiots and we're really smart. I think that just makes more sense to me.
Right.
And maybe it's the overemphasis on needing action in these movies, but I think that that's more of a way to develop that character where we're trying to show that she's very intelligent, like very intelligent. So why are we highlighting stuff that's maybe not super realistic?
I guess the thing is too is you have to remember like this isn't just built for people that are like sophisticated movie watchers.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I don't
So
know.
my last thing is, what did you think of Watson coming in at the end?
Was that the dude from Inception?
I think so. Yeah.
That's what I was fixated on. I was like, is this the?
So
is
do you
this
think
the
they're going to
chemist?
do it?
Oh,
Yeah,
I
think
said,
so.
yeah. There's definitely going to
So
be
do
a
you
third
think
movie.
it's going to be
There's gonna be
not
a
a third movie? Do you think there's going to be a Watson or a whole Holmes Watson movie with just those two characters?
I hope not.
As a side.
I hope not. This
Cavill.
does not this duo of movies is not worthy of a spinoff. Do the third one and get out. Do the third one and get out.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Netflix. So
yeah, sure.
Yeah. All right.
Well, the other thing, I think the other aspect that you have to look at is, does Henry Cavill want to continue to work with Netflix?
I think Henry Cavill. This is the thing I will say about Henry Cavill. I really like Henry Cavill. I think he keeps being in weird roles. I think like Henry Cavill could probably be in something where he could win an Oscar. He just chooses to be in action stuff because like he's a nerd. It's so weird to think about the guy that is like fucking Goliath.
And he's
he's just in the weight room. You call him, you're like, "What do you do?" I'm lifting weights. Shut up. And it's like, but he's also the biggest nerd in the world. Like the guy loves video games as much as anyone.
I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you right now why he is out on The Witcher is because there was a bunch of reports that the writers and production team are not respecting the source material, which is the
I saw that
fantasy novels.
Yep. And he's like, "Fuck that, I'm out." Respect the nerdism of this. He should just throw him around. Why should you just throw him around? Just pick him up and be like, "Write it as I say."
As I say.
But as I say. But what would you give this, friend?
6.
I would say 6.5.
Yeah. So there you go. 6.25. Just thought I saw something.
Oh God, it was a ghost?
I thought it was a bat, honestly, but
Oh, bats are
just
cute.
probably the fuck they are flying rats,
What?
plague
Rats are fine.
carrying plague carrying flying rodents.
Rats are cute.
Didn't COVID start because a guy ate a bat in a wet
No,
market in
that's
China?
not what actually happened. But
China.
it's not actually what happened. But it's fun that we think that's what happened.
Sometimes I just miss the way he says China.
I mean, you can just look it up. There, it's
China.
always there.
China.
China, China.
We
The
have to
other thing I
take
was
care of China.
just quick on the politics thing.
No, let's just not.
No,
Let's
I was
not do
just
that.
quick on. No, I was just very quick on the politics thing. I just saw a guy on Twitter ran into like a voting booth. And he's like, "I'm just here to vote for weed," and just left. And I like that.
I
Like
think
all
I
he
saw
did.
that somewhere too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like I love that. That was the only thing he wanted to vote on his ballot. I hope that's all he
Yeah.
did. I hope he filled in that bubble and he said, "Screw it, I'm out."
I voted for myself because there
I
was
thought about
one
voting for you
candidate.
too, Brenton, but I
Well,
already
that wouldn't have
mailed
made
it in.
sense because
Would have
I'm
been
not.
funny.
Yeah, but I don't live in your state.
Doesn't matter.
I mean, it does.
I could write.
Well,
Next time I'll vote for Reginald the monkey. It's okay.
I there was a there was someone on my ballot that was running unopposed, and I was like, well, I'm going to oppose him.
That's cool. Did you show make the ballot?
What's
Did
that?
you make like the thing where like they show you on the news?
No,
Oh, that's too bad.
no, it was state, like state representative or whatever.
Oh, you should do local. Next time there's a local thing where you're unopposed, vote, do that.
Yeah, I could
School board.
probably. I think I
I've
could
thought about
run.
running for politics.
Running for politics.
Something. I don't know
How do
what.
you
Where do you
run
think I
for
should start? Where
run
do you
for
think I should go?
politics?
What's me like something? I need to be in a political. Should I start school board?
You're
'Cause I
running
want
for
to do it.
office, not for
No,
politics.
but I don't know what office to do. So I'm saying running for politics
Coroner,
because I don't know what. I can't run for court. You actually have to have a degree in that.
comptroller.
That sounds fun.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on. Tax collector. Run for
Yeah, if you're
tax
running for tax.
collector.
Yeah, I'm not high. I am just I don't actually know. I just have a good amount of energy. I think it's because I don't have to work tomorrow. So I
Oh.
think that's it. I'm not tax collector would be good. I like
Do you know who
comptroller,
the Do you know who the tax collector in Mercer County is?
though. No, I have no idea.
Mercer County, Pennsylvania. Matthew D. Fisher. Do you
What's
know
D
who?
stand for?
I don't know. Do you know who the tax collector is in Butler County, one county to the south?
Matthew B. Fisher?
Matthew E. Fisher.
Damn. Close.
Yep.
I love it.
Yeah. I don't.
Family
yeah. Tax collector.
Sounds cool.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll do that.
There you go.
So I want to do it. I want to get in there. Someday I'll be,
You're gonna be running for politics.
running for politics.
Personally, I
don't
try
wanna
to run away from politics.
I like politics though. I want to help this country, Brenton.
Then why would you get into politics?
Well, it's a good question.
Weird.
Let's do it. Let's get weird.
The Al Yankovich story starring Daniel Radcliffe with a host of that's unfortunate. Carolina
Panthers won.
Yeah, we got to angle for a better draft pick, but
3-3 at home.
How's
home field advantage?
Weird, the Al Yankovic story, starring Daniel Radcliffe, Evan Rachel Wood, and a host of, I guess, Rainn Wilson you'd put as more than just a cameo, but many cameos from just comedy royalty. Jack Black, Patton Oswalt, to name a few. This movie is available on the Roku channel, which you do not have to sign up for. It's completely free. And it is the completely accurate, totally not made up, and 100% authentic account of the life and times of Alfred Yankovic. Thoughts?
So where do we go from here? Because we've reached the pinnacle of movie making. Citizen Kane, Paddington 2, The Godfather Part 2, Goodfellas,
The Empire Strikes Back.
The Empire Strikes Back. All movies that are good. Good, we would say, generally speaking, we all think those are good movies.
Mm-hmm.
And then this happens. Greatest movie of all time? I just like, I 100%. Obviously, I'm exaggerating a little bit, much like this movie may have done.
Just a touch.
I haven't enjoyed something like this. I don't think I've laughed this much at a movie. Actually laughed. I will think a movie's funny. And Brenton, you know me. Like, I laugh, but I do a lot of fake laughing.
Mm-hmm.
The show, you crack me up. You're one of the few people, like, the kids the other day asked me what makes me laugh. And I couldn't actually say what makes me laugh because they would be offended. But, like, I want to be like, well, my friend Brenton makes me laugh. And that's kind of it. Not a lot of stuff actually makes me really laugh. I'll say something's funny. And I like jokes about like the Titanic or Kennedy getting his head blown off. I like things like that make me laugh. Those things make me laugh. This movie made me laugh for the hour and like 40 minutes that it is. The whole way, I didn't stop laughing. I thought it was just so stupid and so funny, and like so much of like all because Weird Al was a writer on this.
Mm-hmm.
All he cared about was making people laugh. And we don't get movies like that anymore. There's movies, even funny movies have to make a point.
Right.
There was absolutely no point to this movie other than like, I want to make people laugh.
I'm going to disagree with you on that, but even the disagreement is contextual, but continue.
Okay. Well, I would say the point is making fun of all the other biopics.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
That was
that was the thing, which like you and I have gone back and forth of like biopics are mostly terrible. They're very much like everything has it's a bullet point of what we have to do. And so he does all that. He literally hits all of them. Like he just slices them with a sword. And he's just like, I'm alive. My history. Like we all know Weird. Like if you care about Weird Al, and the thing I found out was that Janie, my fiance, maybe Odingo ate your baby, but I did not know she was this huge Weird Al Yankovic fan. I did not know. She had like every CD that he's ever had in the 90s, 80s, 90s. And then she just rapped to me Amish Paradise through the whole thing. And I'm like, okay, so the impact that he had. And then this movie is like, I was the greatest living musician ever made. And then I get shot at the end and I'm dead.
Yeah.
And it's just, that's it. And that's the movie. And it's like, it was beautiful and it was hilarious. And Daniel Radcliffe should probably be nominated for, I'm not even joking. I think he should be nominated.
I think that's a bit.
I honestly, the reason why is because he plays this 100. He plays this actually 100. He's 100% in this idea of this. And like, isn't that acting? Isn't that acting to be 100% in on it? I thought it was so funny. I thought it was so well done. And I think the last time I laughed at a movie this much was The Hangover. Like, where you're just...
Bridesmaids?
I do not laugh. Bridesmaids is funny to me, but Bridesmaids is a lot of me going, that was funny. Which is good, but
the bathroom scene in Bridesmaids. The bathroom scenes in Bridesmaids is
hilarious. But beginning end, that was like the middle of the movie. That was the only part where I really logistically laughed out loud. This movie, the first scene in this movie, I'm done. I was just like, I just paused it. I paused it, texted you, and I'm like, we're good. And like, I just knew what we're getting into, and for me, just a bomb, an absolute bomb out of the park. More than I expected, exactly what I wanted, but like better than that. That's it. That's all I'd say. It's so funny and so good.
I know. sometimes I say things and they are in absolutes, and people get like, what are you talking about? Oh, that's not. What do you mean that Day Shift is the best Netflix movie ever? If you're not smart enough to understand the context behind that,
Right.
then that's a problem. But I think that this is probably one of the best comedies. I'm not going to say the best because people are, well, what do you mean? I think that this is one of the best comedies in the last 10 years. Honestly, I think that they really missed an opportunity by not taking this to theaters and leaving it on a free channel. And maybe that was
With
maybe that was
ads.
well, yeah, but
I'm just saying that, like, we don't know the logistic of money. You know what I mean? Like, there's a thing where
yeah,
like this also goes up against like a week from now or today now, Black Panther.
yeah, but I
There's
don't
things where
think
like
I think that I don't necessarily think that the same people, and this might have gotten a limited, I don't know. I don't think necessarily think the same people that are seeing this are the same people seeing Black Panther. I mean, there's a Venn diagram, obviously, but I don't know how,
right.
you know. But I just as a okay, so this movie, most of it was complete nonsense, right? Um,
I guess.
in terms of being
No,
factual.
it
But
was, yeah, I would say.
here are some of the things that were alluded to in the movie that were in fact true. Um, he did get his first accordion from a traveling salesman.
Mm-hmm. He grew up in
Uh,
Inglewood and went to Cal
he
Poly.
Dr. Demento was a key figure in his life early on in his early career. The breakthrough hit My Bologna was recorded in a bathroom. Many musicians did get the Yankovic bump, and that's something I want to come back to. Um, his stage name came from being weird growing up, and those are kind of the limit of what doesn't get stretched. I think here are also the 10 best cameos in the movie. Conan O'Brien as Andy Warhol,
So good.
Dimitri Martin as Tiny Tim, Jack Black as Wolfman Jack, uh, Quin Quintina Brunson as Oprah Winfrey, Paul F. Tompkins as Gallagher. That was really well done. Thomas
That was
Lennon as
awesome.
the accordion salesman. Emo Phillips as Salvador Dali. That was really funny too.
That was hilarious.
Will Forte as Ben Scotty. Jorma Tacone as Pee Wee Herman. Akiva Schaffer as Alice Cooper. And then not even on here is the dude from that's in like Suicide Squad, and I can't think of his name. It's like a really difficult to pronounce name. Dalmal Scheimer or something like that. He
Oh yeah.
plays Polka Dot Man, and then
Yeah,
he's like
right.
the Eastern European guy in Ant-Man. Him is just the dude from Queen that nobody
That was so
knows.
funny. Yes.
Yeah. Um, the movie was preposterous the whole way through, and I think that's what you have a man who is known for parody songs, and then his movie that is about him is just the perfect parody of those musician biopics, like you said.
And he's in it. We forgot to mention he's in it too. Weird
Yeah,
Al is in the movie.
Lin Manuel Miranda was
Well,
another one.
yeah.
The song and dance man. I just the only thing to nitpick this to draw back a little bit is that they dubbed Al's voice in on the songs.
When you send me that before I watched it, I was like, okay. And it bummed me out. But then when I actually watched, I didn't care because
No.
it's like his voice is so much
Yeah.
that thing where it's like even if Daniel Radcliffe could come close, there's something about Weird Al's voice
Yes.
that is just the thing, and it's like he does the acting so well. I will say, like in other times, like Rami Malek did not act well enough to do the voice. It just didn't seem like it fit. But Daniel Radcliffe who's probably underrated as an actor because he's Harry Potter, and then like, but the guy's like a stage legend. Like he's actually a very good like Broadway actor and things like that. Where he does this so well that I don't care. I thought I would care when you sent me that. I was like, oh no. And then I literally the first time he does it, I was like, I don't care because Weird Al's voice is
His voice,
so
it's
what
so
it is.
distinct. Yeah.
It's so
Yeah.
distinct, and not to say that like there aren't other biopics where people's voices aren't so distinct, but there is something about Weird Al that
Mhm.
I also think it's because it's Weird Al. It doesn't sound weird, but it's like there's a thing where like it
Ha,
should be Weird Al.
I see what you did there.
Yeah,
Sounds weird.
yeah,
The Yankovic bump
yeah.
was a
That's a real thing.
very, very real thing in the 80s and 90s. I don't think it's necessarily as much of a big deal
No,
now
I
with,
don't.
I mean, he also hasn't had an album in like 7 years, but I think that the Yankovic bump was most evident by the fact that, and they really, really, really embellish the relationship with Madonna.
He met her for 45 seconds in real
Yeah,
life.
but she was actually the one that suggested like a surgery.
Yeah,
And
yep,
it was because she was hunting that bump, the Yankovic bump.
yep.
And it was said that he usually didn't take suggestions from especially the artist, but that one seems so obvious that
Right.
he still made it. But I think early on, he was more famous for doing Michael Jackson. He did a couple of Michael Jackson songs and what have you. Some of his newer stuff is really, really funny.
Yeah, yeah,
And I think a lot of people, especially our age, know the Bad Hair Day album, Amish Paradise, a couple other songs that are on there. Maybe a little bit also Straight Out of Linwood, the White and Nerdy album. But his last
yeah.
album, like I said, it's been 7 years since Mandatory Fun came out, is really,
It's really
really
funny.
funny. Really
Yeah,
funny. And I will say too, and it was funny that they riffed on Eat It being the original and he got ripped off by Michael Jackson. Some of his original songs are really funny too. Dare to Be Stupid
Mhm.
is one of my favorite Weird Al songs. Probably
Yep.
it cracks the top 5. And I've said forever that I think that Al Yankovic is immensely talented. And I think that people who look down on him because he's just changing the words to other people's songs, it's like people started doing that on YouTube in the last maybe like 10 or 15 years. But this guy's been doing it for 40 years and no one has
Right.
ever even come close to the level of success that he's had. He's won like 3 Grammys.
It's
And
smart. That's the thing. It's like
it's
you can just change
intelligence.
lyrics. Yeah, because he knows what he's doing. Like he knows the whole thing. The videos are very funny. Like the
Yes.
videos really sell it too. Because he came of age during MTV. Like he hit
Right.
that perfect thing of music videos actually mattered.
Right.
Because if you watch like the Eat It video, which was just released yesterday in 4K, but if you
That's
watch
hilarious.
it, like it's so
Yeah.
funny. Like it's so perfect. He's so mad,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like he knows exactly. And there's something about that. Like there's something about that. And I think that's what makes this movie so good. Is like as stupid and as silly as all this is, he took it very seriously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think that's the cool thing about Weird Al is like he takes this seriously because like it's so dumb.
Yeah. Yeah. So what would you give this out of
In
10?
all seriousness, it's a 9.5. Like honestly, like for me, it's so funny. Like the the only flaw I would say for me is like I actually wish it was a little longer. I wish there was like more stuff they made fun of in the middle of it because I just it was so quick when it was done. He gets shot and
Yeah.
that's it, which is hilarious. I could have went for maybe not like much longer, but maybe like 7 more minutes of just something because I think he's so funny and so creative. But this is my other thing is like that leave you wanting more, which is so rare now.
Right.
And
Well, and
so
everything's a franchise and everything gets a
yeah,
sequel, and they did kind of allude to. But the other thing is that this really only covers like the first 10 or 15 years of his
Yeah.
career. And
And then
there's
what the funny is,
another
Amish Paradise is thrown into the 80s bit,
and
which it didn't even
yeah,
come into 1995, I think. So,
I don't know, whenever that song
but
was,
it's
Coolio.
and I'm basing it's like 9.5. It's not saying like it's a 9.5 compared to the scale of like, but based on what this movie is.
Yeah. Well, it's the same thing as when we gave The
Right.
Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, whatever
Right.
score we gave it was like an
And I think we
8.5
have
or
like a
something.
13 out of 10
Yeah.
or
Well,
whatever.
that's a different,
Yeah. I
not
will
that you
say
went
that
anywhere.
I will say those two movies,
Mm-hmm. I need to watch
they're
that
not going to
again.
get nominated for Best Picture or anything
No.
at all. But holy crap. Right? I mean, I think it's the only way to really say, like, holy crap. Like, we didn't, we live in an era where, like, those movies exist and people probably haven't seen either of these movies. Like, the wide majority of people haven't seen them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sad because, like, they're both so well done and kind of understand that idea of making a movie is to entertain us. At the end of the day, isn't that it? I mean,
Yeah.
like,
It's just, it's sad that comedy has become like a niche genre. Like real comedy is like a
comedy. Yeah.
niche drama at this point.
Yep.
Yeah, it's sad.
Where would you give it, friend?
For what it was trying to accomplish, I give it a 9. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yep.
it's
Yeah.
very good.
Media recommendations.
Okay. I had it popped up. So I have the new season of The Crown, season 5. Very good. We started the first 5 episodes last night. It's very, very good. It's another Diana season. The only stuff that matters during all the royalty stuff, the pre-Diana stuff doesn't matter. Post, whatever. Diana stuff's fun and good, and she's the woman that plays Diana. I had it up and I accidentally erased it, but she's very good. And then I would also recommend the book I'm reading right now is called All Girls. I gotta get the author up. I had it, and like I said, I lost it. Emily Laden. I'm only about 90 pages left. It's actually a young adult book, but it's very, very good. She writes it. It's very snappy. It's about a girl who they find in a lake, and she, obviously she is dead. And then this girl mysteriously has a website for this other girl that is on campus, and she's like, you have to find these things and like what is happening. It's very, mystery suspense. I don't normally like mystery suspense. I 100% will say that it's usually a genre it's all played for me, but the way she writes it is so well done. Um, I'm not finished with it, so it could fall off the cliff, but right now I really, really like it. And I would also just recommend I don't necessarily want to say I want to recommend it. Just get ready for the last part of college football, because I think if you're not a college football person, you're not going to really care. But there's a lot of good stuff coming out, college football wise, that could determine big things here. Not just because I'm a Michigan guy, and also I'm seeing Harry Styles, and I'm excited about that. And I would just recommend listening to him, just in general, because he makes fantastic music. I actually think his first album is his best. I actually still think that. So, what about you, Brendan?
God of War Ragnarok. End of list.
All right, there you go.
That's what I'm on. And you can kind of hear on our Gamescast episode that came out here the other day some of our musings about that, as well as the rankings of the Sony first party studios with our gaming my gaming co-host Mr. Charles Chambers. You can check that out on podcast services. Hasn't made it to video yet because I'm trying to render a hour and 45-minute long video, and that takes time.
You're like 4 pages of notes.
Yeah, I had a lot of notes. BXG podcast publishes every 9 a.m. on Friday Eastern Standard Time, 6 a.m. Pacific, 4 a.m. Hawaiian.
Aloha.
On podcast services globally, Spotify, Amazon,
worldwide,
all of that. You can check out our YouTube channel, giveaway at every 100 every 100 subscribers. a $25 gift card up until 500 subscribers when we give away a $50 gift card and then $100 gift card at 1,000. I just forget where I was. Social media, Instagram at BXG Prods, Twitter at BXG Prods, Facebook.com at BXG Productions. That's it.
That's it. That's your
All I
show.
got. That's the show. Take care. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.